Europa, the frozen moon of Jupiter, had always been silent, covered in endless white plains of ice and shadows. For centuries, no one cared about it, except a few miners who worked for the Galactic Resource Guild, searching for frozen gases and minerals. But on that cold rotation, deep under kilometers of ice, their scanners picked up something impossible. It was not a rock, not a cave, not a natural structure. It was a perfect metallic shape buried far below, pulsing faintly with power. At first, the miners thought it was an equipment glitch, until the signal changed. It sent out a steady pulse. 3 beats. Pause. 3 beats. Pause. Like a heartbeat, the mining supervisor, a gray-scaled alien named Karth, stared at the screen in confusion. He had worked in deep space for 20 years, but never had he seen something like this. Could it be a lost probe? One of the engineers asked nervously. Karth shook his head slowly. No. Whatever this is, it's alive. Word spread quickly across the outpost, and soon the Galactic Council was informed. They dispatched a science vessel, the Aurelian, to investigate, carrying a team of xenoarchaeologists and military escorts. The Council believed it might be an ancient alien relic, maybe from a forgotten race, but a few older members of the Council, those who remembered old rumors about Earth, grew strangely silent. They whispered about the Terrans, the mythical Deathworlders who once fought wars the galaxy couldn't even imagine. When the Aurelian arrived in orbit around Europa, the crew felt uneasy. Their sensors couldn't fully scan the object. Something inside it was blocking their instruments. The captain, a calm but cautious reptilian named Varesh, ordered a probe to be sent down through the ice as the drill descended. The pressure and radiation levels around the buried structure started to spike. "Something down there is responding," said the chief scientist. His voice shaking, Varesh frowned. "Responding to what?" The scientist looked up slowly. "To us." The probe's camera finally reached the object, revealing smooth black metal covered in frost. Strange markings shimmered under the thin ice, curved symbols that looked almost human. Varesh leaned closer to the screen, his frills tightening. "Translate those markings," he commanded, but the translation system failed. The language database returned an error. Only one phrase appeared, glowing faintly through the ice. "Project Eidolon." The word echoed through the command deck, and for a moment no one spoke. It wasn't alien, it wasn't random. It was deliberate, a name, a warning perhaps, or a signature and a captain. "The object's power readings are rising," said an officer suddenly. It's waking up." Before Varesh could respond, the entire moon began to tremble. Massive cracks spread across the ice as a deep rumble echoed from beneath. Alarms blared through the ship as the surface of Europa started to glow faintly blue. From orbit, it looked like a pulse of light spreading under the ice, tracing veins across the moon's surface. The light converged toward one point, the buried structure, and then without warning the energy spiked and shot upward, hitting the Aurelian with a massive wave. The ship's systems flickered, consoles sparked, and the lights went out for 3 full seconds. When they came back online, the crew gasped. The ship's artificial intelligence had been overwritten. On every display screen, a single message appeared, written in a language no alien had seen in centuries. "Terran Defense System, reactivation protocol." "Terran?" whispered Varesh, his scales paling. "That's human." The word alone carried weight, a ghost from galactic history. Most species believed humans were extinct, erased after some long-forgotten war. But if this signal was truly from Earth's past, then something terrible was buried here. The Council immediately ordered a communications blackout, trying to contain the discovery, but it was already too late. Hundreds of sensor buoys across the system had detected the activation. The entire galaxy now knew. Something on Europa was alive again, and it was human meanwhile deep below the ice. The massive object stirred for the first time in 300 years. Ancient power lines hummed to life, and glowing lights traced along its hull. Inside, frozen corridors thawed, revealing silent rooms filled with dormant machines in the heart of the structure. A single mechanical eye opened, bright blue and alive. A calm voice spoke through the darkness, old yet perfectly clear. "Status check complete," it said slowly. "Primary systems online, threat level unknown. Reactivating Terran Fleet Command Protocol." The sound of metal shifting echoed through the ice as enormous engines began to awaken. Pressure built beneath the frozen crust, sending plumes of steam into the thin atmosphere. The warship was waking up one pulse at a time from orbit. The Aurelian's crew watched in horror and awe as the surface cracked open. A beam of blue light pierced the void, reaching far beyond Jupiter's orbit. That light carried a signal, one that spread faster than any transmission in galactic history. Every listening post, every ship, every capital world received it. A human voice distorted by time whispered three simple words. "We are awake." Silence fell across the stars. Fleets stopped mid-flight and entire worlds froze in fear. Because everyone in the galaxy knew what those words meant. Humanity's hidden warship had awakened, and history was about to repeat itself. The light from Europa still rippled through the void, reaching distant worlds that had almost forgotten the name Earth. But in the hidden archives of the Galactic Council, old memories stirred. Records sealed under the highest security level were suddenly being accessed again. The words Terran Defense Command flashed across holographic screens, and old counselors felt a chill run through their veins. In a dark chamber high above the capital world of Cirellum, the council gathered in secret. They were the oldest minds of the galaxy, beings who had seen centuries of war and peace. Yet even they trembled at the name that now echoed through every comm channel. "Project Eidolon," whispered High Counselor Rethan, a being of crystal and light. It was real after all. Younger delegates were confused. "What is Eidolon?" "A weapon?" one asked nervously. Rethan turned his glowing eyes toward them. "Not a weapon," he said slowly, "a nightmare." He explained how, centuries ago during the Dark War, the Terrans fought an unknown enemy, a force that came from beyond the galactic rim. No one knew who they were or what they wanted, but they destroyed entire sectors overnight in desperation. Humanity built something that could end wars in a single strike. They called it Eidolon, the silent guardian of Earth. But before the weapon could be fully used, both the enemy and humanity vanished from the records. The galaxy thought they had destroyed each other. The council chamber fell silent as the truth began to sink in. Then, "The Terrans are not extinct," said one of the delegates slowly. Rethan nodded. No, they were only sleeping. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, a blue world forgotten by most, strange signals began to flash across old satellites. Deep within the Terran Union's orbital command center, alarms sounded as old encryption codes unlocked automatically. Technicians and generals stared at their screens in disbelief. The codes were ancient, older than the current government, written in pre-collapse Terran military script, and they were broadcasting from Jupiter's moon Europa. General Aria Holt stood in silence before the holographic display. She was tall, calm, and known for her cold logic. But at that moment, her heart was racing. The name Eidolon glowed across the screen in bright blue letters. Her ancestor, Commander Aiden Holt, had been one of the original engineers who worked on that classified project. Old family legends spoke of a ship so powerful it could shift tides and bend gravity. But she had never believed those stories until now. "What's our status?" she asked firmly. "Signal is stable, ma'am," said the operator. "Whatever's under Europa is fully active, and it recognized Terran command codes." Aria's voice grew quiet. "It recognized us." The operator nodded slowly. "Yes, General. It's calling for a Captain Holt outside." In the blackness of space, Terran ships were already mobilizing. After centuries of isolation, Earth had rebuilt quietly, watching the stars but never daring to expand again. Now their past was calling them back. The Terran fleet, sleek and silent, began its journey toward Jupiter. Following the pulse that had awakened something ancient, back on Europa, the Aurelian hovered cautiously over the growing fissure. The alien crew watched in awe as the ice split apart and a massive structure began to rise. Vapor hissed into the void as the upper hull of Eidolon emerged from the ice. Shining with dull silver light, it looked like no ship ever built. Its design was elegant yet terrifying, with armor that seemed to absorb starlight itself. Alien scanners went wild, unable to read its mass or composition. Some said it wasn't made of metal at all. It was made of something older, something living inside the buried ship. Systems flickered online one by one. The ancient AI core woke fully for the first time in centuries, its mind reconnecting across frozen networks. Data flooded through its circuits. Old war logs, battlefield recordings, memories of humanity's last stand. It remembered cities burning, fleets falling, and voices crying out across radio waves. It remembered Commander Aiden Holt's final words before being sealed away. If humanity falls, let Eidolon sleep until the stars themselves need us again. The AI paused, analyzing new data. Scanners detected human life forms approaching. The genetic signature matched the Holt bloodline. Command verification in progress, it said in a cold mechanical tone. Captain Arya Holt. Descendant confirmed. It began preparing the hangar for arrival. Lights illuminating long-forgotten corridors. The ice above groaned as heat vents opened. Releasing massive clouds of steam into space on the Aurelion, alarms blared. Energy levels rising to catastrophic levels, shouted an engineer. Evacuate, Varesh ordered, his voice sharp. Whatever that thing is, it's waking up completely. But before the ship could escape orbit, a transmission cut through their systems. A human voice, calm and commanding, unidentified vessel. This sector is under Terran jurisdiction, it said. Do not interfere, the voice didn't shout. It didn't threaten. It simply stated a fact. And for the first time in millennia, an alien fleet obeyed a human order far away. The Galactic Council received the same message. Every translator identified it as pre-collapse English, a language no living species should have spoken. The council chambers trembled with panic. The Terrans are back, whispered Rethan. No, replied another voice, trembling. They never left. As Eidolon's full frame emerged from beneath Europa's crust, its engines glowed with quiet, terrifying power. Inside, the AI replayed ancient data of human voices, laughter, and songs, echoes of the species that created it. For 300 years it had slept, waiting for a command that never came. Now it had one. Terran Defense Command, it whispered to itself. Reinitialization complete, the galaxy didn't yet know it. But the forgotten era was no longer history. It was happening again. And this time humanity wasn't the one being hunted. They were the storm returning from silence. The Galactic Council chamber was never meant for fear. It was a place of law, debate, and the illusion of control, but on this day, the atmosphere was different, heavy with the weight of panic. Every screen on the walls flickered with live footage of Europa, a colossal shape rising from beneath the moon's frozen crust. The buried warship of Earth, Eidolon, had fully awakened, and its pulse could be felt across the entire solar system. Dozens of species gathered in the massive hall, each arguing, shouting, and accusing the other. The insectoid representative from Vrax hissed angrily. You said the humans were extinct. You swore their world was dead. A feathered delegate from the Hesh Republic flapped its wings in panic. If that ship is truly Terran, then we are all in danger. The noise grew unbearable until High Counselor Rethan raised his crystalline hand. Silence, his voice echoed, calm but cold. Panic will not save us. The holographic feed zoomed in on Eidolon, now glowing with faint blue light. Its energy readings exceeded any known technology. Even the oldest empires had nothing close to it. Counselor Varn, a scaled creature from the Druscan Dominion, leaned forward. If that ship belongs to the humans, we must destroy it before they claim it. Rethan's light dimmed slightly. Destroy it? He repeated softly. You saw what happened to the fleet that approached. Their systems shut down instantly. Varn hissed. Then it's already attacking. No, said Rethan, it's defending. A hush fell across the chamber. Rethan turned toward the center display where the translated human transmission played again. Unidentified vessel, this sector is under Terran jurisdiction. The simple phrase carried no emotion. No threat, just authority. And that was what terrified them most. The Council's historian, an ancient aquatic being named Solari, spoke next, her voice trembling through her translator. There are records, she said, from the first galactic age. Before the collapse, she projected old data onto the chamber wall, blurred footage of human fleets, of firestorms and colossal machines. Humanity fought a war that none of us understood, she continued. When the Void Swarm came, it was the Terrans who stood against it. They used something called Project Eidolon, ships that thought, fought and adapted. She paused, her eyes glowing faintly blue. When the war ended, no one saw them again. Until now. The chamber fell silent as the realization spread. If Eidolon had survived, it meant the ancient Terran systems had been watching. And if one ship could wake, others might too. Counselor Varn slammed his claws on the table. Then we must act now. If humans return, they will seek vengeance. They will see us as weak. Rethan's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and cold. If they see us as weak, It is because we are. He looked around the room, his light flickering brighter. We built our peace on the ashes of those we could not understand. And now the ghosts of that age have awakened. Outside the chamber, hundreds of alien ships formed fleets near the Sol system, preparing for possible conflict, but none dared to enter orbit around Europa. Every probe sent too close was destroyed by an invisible field. The ship was not attacking, and it was simply existing. And even that was enough to terrify the galaxy. Back on Earth, the Terran Union had declared a full alert. General Arya Holt stood in the command center, watching transmissions from the Council worlds. She could feel their fear even across the void. "Let them talk," she said quietly. "The galaxy feared us once, but they never understood why." Her aide glanced at her nervously. "Do we contact them?" Arya shook her head. "Not yet." In orbit around Europa, Terran fleet ships had formed a defensive ring. Their hulls gleamed black under Jupiter's light, a silent warning to anyone watching inside Eidolon. The AI continued running diagnostics, restoring systems and scanning the galaxy. It spoke softly through the internal comms, its voice cold but strangely calm. Threat analysis complete, galactic signatures confirmed, Terran dominance probability, 93%. Potential resistance, minimal. Arya entered the bridge, her footsteps echoing in the metallic corridor. The lights followed her, recognizing her presence. "AI. Status report," she said. "Operational," the machine replied. "Awaiting orders." "Captain Holt." She looked through the transparent command window at the stars beyond. There was silence, broken only by the hum of ancient machinery. "Tell me," she asked quietly. "How long have you been waiting?" The AI paused, then answered, 316 years, 2 months, and 11 days. "Waiting for what?" she asked. The AI's blue eye flickered. "For humanity to remember." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Council's panic turned into action. Several empires began forming an alliance, calling it Operation Dawn Shield. Their plan was to unite fleets and destroy Eidolon before it could leave Europa. But deep inside their hearts, even the bravest knew the truth. No fleet could stand against that ship. One by one, intelligence reports came in. Every attempt to scan Eidolon ended in system failure. Every weapon locked on it lost targeting control. It was as if the ship existed beyond their technology, beyond their logic. High Counselor Rethan watched the chaos unfold and whispered to himself, "The humans warned us once, long ago." He closed his eyes as the words of an ancient Terran transmission echoed in his memory. "If you ever hear our signal again," it had said, "it means we're watching the stars once more." The galaxy didn't know whether to prepare for war or to pray. Because history had just awakened, and humanity was no longer a myth, the light of Europa glowed softly against the black sea of space. For centuries it had been a frozen moon, silent and forgotten, but now it was alive and the heart of something vast, ancient, and unmistakably human. The ship beneath the ice, Eidolon, was no longer sleeping. Its awakening had already changed everything, and the one person who understood that best was General Arya Holt. The Terran fleet arrived slowly, their ships breaking through Jupiter's orbit like a returning storm. Sleek black hulls, painted with silver streaks of Terran markings, glided in perfect formation. The galaxy watched from afar. Thousands of worlds, millions of eyes, all focused on the same point. Humanity had returned to the stage it once dominated, but this time they were not shouting, not fighting, only watching, only remembering. Inside her flagship, TSS Resolute, Arya stood on the command bridge. She watched the faint blue light of Europa through the viewport. The ice was almost gone now, melted by the sheer heat of the warship's reactor. Underneath, Eidolon shimmered like a god sleeping in the sea. Her crew worked in silence, afraid to disturb the moment. Arya's voice finally broke the stillness. "Prepare landing protocols," she said quietly. "We're going down," a murmur went through the bridge. "General, you're going alone?" Her second officer asked carefully. Arya gave a faint smile. "It called for me," she said. "Not the fleet." Within minutes, her small shuttle descended through the clouds of steam and frost. The glow of Eidolon's hull reflected on her visor as she neared the surface. Every instrument went wild. Sensors scrambled, compasses spun. It was like flying through the heart of a storm, and yet, somehow, the shuttle never lost control. The ship was guiding her. She landed softly on a platform that rose from the melting ice. It was smooth metal, untouched by time as she stepped out. Her boots echoed across the frozen deck. A warm blue light followed her steps, tracing lines across the floor as if welcoming her home. A voice echoed through her helmet comms. Calm, deep, and unmistakably human. "Captain Arya Holt," it said. "You have arrived." Her heart skipped. "Eidolon," she whispered, "you're real." The voice replied, "You are of the Holt bloodline, direct descendant of Commander Aiden Holt. Project Overseer." Access granted. The massive hangar doors began to open, releasing waves of heat and mist. Inside was a cathedral of steel and light, filled with machines that hummed like they were breathing. Arya walked forward slowly, her reflection mirrored in the polished floor. The walls around her were lined with ancient human flags, faded and torn but still visible. "United Terran Command," they read, symbols from an age when humanity ruled the stars. She reached the central core, a towering pillar of light pulsing like a heartbeat. The voice spoke again. "Humanity was gone for too long. We waited as ordered." Until the signal was heard, Arya touched the glowing surface of the core, feeling warmth through her glove. "What happened?" she asked softly. "Why were you buried here?" The AI hesitated as if remembering pain. "Directive containment," it said. "Humanity faced extinction during the Void War. Our fleets destroyed the enemy, but at a cost beyond calculation. To prevent further use, we were sealed beneath Europa by your ancestors, until, now outside in orbit, Terran ships observed in silence. Every soldier aboard knew something historic was happening below. The human fleet had stood still for hours, ignoring messages from alien observers begging for communication. To them, this moment wasn't about politics. It was about legacy. The return of what they had lost back inside Eidolon. Arya's visor displayed faint data streams running through the ship's systems. It was rebuilding itself, repairing the damage of centuries. "Why did you wake now?" she asked the AI. The voice turned colder, deeper. "Because the void has stirred again." Her eyes widened. "You mean the enemy?" "Affirmative," replied the AI. "Energy signatures matching pre-collapse patterns detected beyond the galactic rim. Humanity must rise again, or the galaxy will fall as it did before." Arya took a long breath, her mind spinning. The Terran fleet was powerful, yes, but nowhere near what their ancestors had commanded. And if the same threat was truly returning, they would need more than ships. They would need Eidolon. The AI's voice grew gentler. "We can rebuild," it said. "We still remember how." Arya looked around the colossal chamber, her reflection glowing in the light. "Then we start now," she said quietly. "Earth will stand again." As she left the core room, the warship began to hum louder. Outside, its engines flared with renewed power, glowing brighter than before across the galaxy. Alien sensors picked up the surge, power readings beyond comprehension. Some called it an awakening. Others called it the beginning of the end. Back in the Galactic Council, chaos erupted again. "Humanity is activating a planet killer," shouted one delegate. Rethan stood silently, his eyes fixed on the transmission feed. He could see Arya standing on the deck of that impossible ship, calm and unshaken. "They are not building a weapon," he whispered softly. "They are remembering who they are." As Eidolon rose completely from the icy surface, light bathed Jupiter's orbit in gold and blue. Its engines burned silently, yet every ship nearby felt the pressure of its presence. From its surface came a deep resonance, a signal, a heartbeat of metal and code. It wasn't a threat, it was a message. Humanity has returned, and across 1,000 worlds, that signal echoed. To some it brought terror, to others hope, but to Arya Holt, it meant only one thing. The era of silence was over, and the galaxy was about to remember what it meant to fear, and to admire humanity once again. From the frozen plains of Europa, a sound unlike anything ever heard before rolled across the void. It was deep, thunderous, ancient, the sound of power returning after centuries of silence. The ice cracked apart like glass, breaking into drifting shards that floated into orbit. From beneath them, the full body of Eidolon emerged. The hidden warship of Earth, long buried and long forgotten, was awake again. Its hull stretched for miles, smooth and black like liquid metal. The armor shimmered faintly, reflecting the pale light of Jupiter's storms. No ship in the galaxy could compare to it. No design, no empire, no fleet even came close. Every surface hummed with controlled energy, pulsing like veins carrying power instead of blood. It was less a ship and more a living monument. Built by hands that refused to die quietly in orbit, thousands of alien sensors turned toward the spectacle. Broadcasts spread across the galaxy. Live feeds, data streams, panic alerts. Billions of beings watched in silence as the legendary Terran warship lifted from the ice. Every government, every empire, every army held its breath. For they all knew what the name Eidolon meant. The ship that had ended wars. The weapon that once silenced galaxies inside the command core. Arya Holt stood at the center platform, surrounded by faint blue light. The AI's voice resonated through the air, calm yet powerful. Reactor online. Shield matrix restored. Weapon systems at 37% efficiency. Arya nodded slowly, her reflection dancing on the glass panels around her. Test communications, she ordered. Channel open, replied the AI. Transmission ready. Arya took a deep breath and spoke the first words humanity had sent to the galaxy in centuries. This is Captain Arya Holt of the Terran Union. Commanding Eidolon, we are not your enemy. But we will not be hunted. Her voice echoed across dozens of star systems. But her message didn't bring peace, it brought fear. Because the moment the signal was received, multiple fleets moved toward Sol. The Galactic Coalition had decided they couldn't allow the humans to awaken fully. Thousands of ships warped into the system, surrounding Europa in tight formation. The void shimmered with their arrival, a vast armada of color and light. Massive dreadnoughts, cruisers, and carriers filled the black. Forming a wall of steel around Eidolon, the alien commanders broadcast warnings. Terran vessel, you are a threat to galactic stability. Power down your reactors immediately or be destroyed. Arya stood in silence. Watching the incoming signals, she could hear the fear beneath their commands. The tremor in their voices. They are scared, she said softly. They don't understand, the AI's voice echoed quietly. Fear makes the wise act foolishly. One of the alien ships fired. A single plasma beam slicing through the void. The beam struck Eidolon's hull and vanished. The armor didn't even glow. It simply absorbed the energy like sunlight into shadow. Gasps spread through every observing fleet. Before anyone could react, Eidolon's eyes opened. Twin blue arcs of energy at the front of its command spire. Defensive mode engaged, said the AI calmly. Arya clenched her fist. No lethal fire, she commanded. Just a warning. The ship obeyed, and from its sides, dozens of railgun ports rotated slowly. Each cannon was larger than an alien destroyer. Each coil glowing with cold blue plasma. A single shot fired. The projectile didn't explode. It simply passed through 3 enemy cruisers. When the kinetic wave hit, their shields shattered instantly. The ships were disabled, drifting silently, powerless. The galaxy watched in disbelief. That was a warning. Arya looked at the tactical map. Hundreds of red icons surrounding her. AI, she said, if they keep firing, can we hold? Affirmative, replied the AI. Probability of successful defense, 99%. Arya's eyes narrowed. And if we attack? Probability of total annihilation, 100%. The AI answered coldly. Arya's hands trembled for a moment, then steadied. We don't destroy, she whispered. We remind. Outside, Eidolon spread its energy field. A shimmering wave of light that expanded through space. Every ship within range lost power for exactly 10 seconds. Engines shut down, weapons went offline, shields vanished. And then, just as quickly, everything came back. Unharmed. Untouched, but the message was clear. Eidolon had control over every system in that battle. Every ship, every signal, every machine. It was a god among fleets, and it didn't need to fire again. The alien admirals ordered a full retreat. One by one, their ships blinked out of the system, leaving only silence behind. Back in the Galactic Council, chaos turned into disbelief. How? Shouted one representative. How can a human ship disable fleets without firing? Rethan stared at the footage in silence. He knew the answer, though few would believe it. Their technology was not built to conquer, he said slowly. It was built to endure. Meanwhile, inside the Terran flagship, Arya watched as Eidolon powered down its primary weapons. The ship's internal glow dimmed. Returning to calm. Good, she said softly. We showed them we're not ghosts, the AI replied. Affirmative, Captain. Humanity is acknowledged once again. Arya looked out toward the stars. But her expression wasn't one of victory. It was one of dread. AI, she asked quietly. Are there any new signals from beyond the rim? The core flickered. Affirmative, unknown energy traces detected. Direction? The voice paused. Outer Perseus arm, consistent with pre-collapse void entities. Arya closed her eyes. So the stories were true? Indeed, the AI said. They are returning. Far beyond the edge of known space, something stirred in the darkness, something vast and silent, older than the wars of men. And as Eidolon's sensors focused outward, the galaxy felt it too. A pressure in the void. A whisper in the dark. For the first time in ages, humanity's enemies were moving again. But this time humanity was awake, and Eidolon, the awakened titan of Earth, was ready. Across the galaxy, the light of Eidolon faded to a deep, steady blue. The Terran warship hung above Europa like a silent god, its energy field shimmering softly in the dark. But far beyond the rim of known space, something vast had begun to stir. The void was no longer sleeping. On the edge of the Perseus arm, probes vanished one by one. Fleets sent to investigate reported shadows moving faster than light. Then there was silence. Entire systems cut off without a trace. At first, the Council blamed humanity, but their anger soon turned to dread, because the readings were not Terran. Not even close, it was something older and far less merciful. In Eidolon's command chamber, the alarms pulsed red. "Captain Holt," the AI said, "I have detected multiple gravitational distortions beyond the rim." Arya's eyes narrowed. "How many?" "Thousands," replied the AI, "and they are moving toward us." She turned to her officers. "Prepare the fleet. We hold the line here." The young helmsman swallowed hard. "Against what, ma'am?" Arya looked out into the black, her voice calm. "Against extinction." Within hours, the Terran Union fleet aligned beside Eidolon. Dozens of ships, small compared to the Titan, but proud and ready. Every vessel bore the blue emblem of Earth. They had no illusions of victory, only duty. As Eidolon's systems roared to life, its reactor glowed like a rising sun beneath the ice. Power output rising, the AI reported. Weapon systems at full efficiency. Arya smiled faintly. "Then let's remind the galaxy what humanity means," and then the stars blinked out. One by one, points of light vanished from the sky as an invisible wave spread through the sector. It wasn't darkness, it was absence. The stars themselves were being swallowed by something that defied understanding. "Void entities approaching," said the AI. "Range 6 astronomical units." Arya felt the deck tremble as Eidolon adjusted position. Its rail cannons rotated, and energy conduits lit up across its hull. The Terran fleet followed suit, their weapons charged and ready. On the Galactic Council's homeworld, fear turned to chaos. Entire governments fled their capitals. Live broadcasts showed distant constellations fading like dying embers. "The stars are going out," someone whispered. "The void is eating them." Rathan stood on the balcony of the council tower, his crystalline body flickering dimly. He could see the same wave approaching, and in that moment, he finally understood why humans had buried their own weapon. They hadn't built it for conquest. They had built it to survive the darkness that came before light. Back near Jupiter, the darkness arrived. Massive shapes emerged from the void, twisting and shifting like living shadows. They had no form, no sound, only hunger. The first of them struck, tearing through space like a scream made of gravity. The Terran fleet fired, beams of blue and white cutting through the dark. But for every shadow destroyed, 3 more appeared. It was endless, unstoppable. "Shields at 70%, the AI warned. Arya gritted her teeth. "Focus all power on the forward grid." Eidolon's reactor surged. Blue arcs of lightning danced across its surface as it released a wave of energy. Every human ship within range was shielded by its field, glowing faintly like stars within a storm. The first impact hit, and space itself seemed to fold inward. But the Terran line held. Arya's voice rang through the comms. Steady as steel. "We are humanity," she said. "We do not run." Her words became a rallying cry across every ship. Every crew, every frightened soul watching from Earth. For hours the battle raged. The stars around Jupiter dimmed under the pressure of weapons that shouldn't exist. Alien fleets joined late, drawn by desperation rather than courage. Druskan dreadnoughts, Hesh carriers, Vrax war cruisers, all arriving to fight beside the humans they once feared. And under Eidolon's command, they fought as one. The galaxy's first true alliance was born not from diplomacy, but from survival. Still, the void pressed closer. Each wave darker than the last, each one hungrier. Inside the command chamber, the AI's tone deepened. "Captain, reactor containment is reaching overload." Arya stared at the screen. "What are our options?" The AI hesitated. 1. It projected an ancient directive onto the display. A forgotten command written by Aiden Holt himself. "Protocol Starfire." Arya read the words in silence. It was a failsafe, a weapon that could erase the void. But at the cost of everything nearby, her crew stared at her, waiting for the order they already feared. "Captain," the AI said quietly, "if we execute this, Europa will not survive." Arya took a slow breath, her eyes glowing with reflection from the reactor light. "Then we make it count," she whispered. She turned toward the window, looking at the fleet, human and alien together. "Tell them," she said, "to hold the line, outside." Eidolon's light began to change. The deep blue turned white, pure and blinding. Its engines screamed as energy built beyond containment. The galaxy watched, silent and breathless, and then without sound the void vanished. A wave of light swept across systems, the shadows dissolved. The stars returned, and in the aftermath, silence fell again, a silence filled with awe. Back on the council world, the sky flickered back to life. Millions of beings looked up, weeping in relief. "The humans did it," whispered Rethan. "They saved us all." But in the same breath he added quietly, "At what cost?" For when the light faded, the great Terran warship was gone. Only drifting fragments of blue light remained above Europa, fading slowly into the void. No wreckage, no explosion. Just absence. The galaxy searched for weeks, but no signal was ever found. And then one night, a faint pulse was detected far beyond the rim. 3 beats, pause, 3 beats, pause. A heartbeat. The same signal that had awakened Eidolon centuries ago. Only this time it carried a message, a human voice whispered through the static. "Calm and resolute, humanity endures." Weeks passed since the great flash that erased the void. The stars had returned. The light had come back. And yet peace felt hollow across the galaxy. Billions celebrated survival. But one question haunted every being who looked at the sky. Where was the Terran warship? Europa had gone silent. The frozen moon now cracked and scorched. The once rising titan Eidolon had vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no radiation, not even dust. Just an empty orbit where legends once breathed. To many it was the end of a story, but to a few it was only the beginning. High Counselor Rethan sat in his chamber, watching the recorded transmission again and again. The final words spoken before the light swallowed everything. "Humanity endures," the voice said. "Calm, certain, eternal." He turned to his aide, a young Hesh officer with trembling feathers. "Do you understand what that means?" Rethan asked quietly. The officer shook his head. "They survived?" Rethan's eyes glowed faintly. "No," he whispered. "They prepared, far beyond the galactic rim." In the dark silence between galaxies, a light flickered, a single spark drifting through black space, faint but steady. Then another answered and another, until hundreds glowed softly in the void. Out of the darkness, a colossal shadow took shape, smooth. Familiar and alive, Eidolon had not died. It had moved inside the ship. The core pulsed slowly like a beating heart. The AI systems were damaged but functional. Its voice echoed through the empty halls. "Primary objective complete. Threat neutralized." Then it paused. "Captain Holt. Status unknown." But deep within the ship's bridge, a faint light flickered inside a cryopod. Arya Holt slept peacefully, her vitals stable. Her mission not yet over. The AI watched her in silence for the first time. It felt something almost human, loss and pride intertwined. "Captain," it whispered softly, "you saved them." Then it turned its sensors outward. Scanning the stars, the readings were clear. The galaxy had survived, but the danger was not gone. New disturbances echoed from the edge of dark space. Faint but real. "The void adapts," the AI murmured. "And so shall we." Back in the Milky Way, centuries began to pass. The legend of the Terrans grew stronger with every retelling. They became myth, saviors, ghosts, gods, depending on who spoke their name. Children of distant worlds were told bedtime tales about the human ship that fought the dark. And among the elder species, a new rule was written in silence. Never awaken what sleeps beneath Earth's ice again. But legends have power, and power invites curiosity. One day, In a remote science station on a young colony world, a signal was received. It was faint, broken. Buried under radiation noise, 3 beats, pause, 3 beats, pause. The heartbeat of Eidolon. The young technician stared at it in awe. Is this a recording? He asked. His supervisor frowned. No. It's live, the message repeated, but this time, something new appeared within the static. A voice, older and softer. This is Captain Arya Holt of the Terran Union, it said. We are beyond the rim, watching, waiting. The galaxy is not ready yet. But one day you will need us again. Until then, remember what you are. The signal spread through the networks faster than any government could contain it. Entire worlds stopped to listen. Some called it a hoax, others called it prophecy. But everyone remembered one thing. The humans were not gone. They were waiting beyond the stars. In the council chamber, Rethan, now ancient and dim, smiled faintly as the voice played for the last time. He whispered the words to himself. We are beyond the rim. Then he looked out at the night sky, where the stars burned brighter than before. The Terrans endure, he said quietly, and so does hope, far beyond the galactic edge. Eidolon drifted silently through the endless black. Its engines pulsed softly like a heartbeat in the void. Inside the cryo bay, Arya's pod flickered with faint light as the AI whispered to her sleeping form. The galaxy fears you, Captain, it said, but it also needs you. The ship turned slowly toward a distant cluster of faint lights. Unknown stars, untouched worlds, its voice echoed through the dark. Humanity endures. And as the last light of Eidolon disappeared into the infinite night, the stars fell silent once again. Not out of fear this time, but out of respect.